Hey there guys, Neil here, back with an Android app review. So for today's review, I wanted to share a way to easily get various statistics or device statistics or weather information or things like that on your home screen. But rather than being a traditional widget, this is actually going to be using the way of a live wallpaper. So the app itself is called Custom Live Wallpaper, abbreviated KLWP. And this is kind of this is basically unofficially the successor or another or newer version of Super Widget. So what we saw in Super Widget or a lot of the things we see in Super Widget are here as well, but with additional features and preview options. And rather than being set up as a widget, it's set up as a live wallpaper. So we'll jump right into it. What you see right now with this weather forecast, with the circle you see with the battery meter, the current weather options, date, and forecast are all part of this live wallpaper, and the image itself is also a part of this live wallpaper. So I'll jump into that as well a little bit in a little bit. So opening up the app, we get a layout that's similar to Super Widget, but is actually, in my opinion, a lot easier to use and better handles your screen positioning and size and all of that. So as you can see, the format is in the layout of a screen, so you can easily see your overall position. We have our various layers, so you can see the progress bar, font, weather, text, and all of that, and then morphing text as well, which is is basically another way of saying rich text. So you got options there as well. And then we have the background, so you can differentiate between a solid color and an image. For the solid color, you can set a gradient as well. So if you want, for example, a red, but you want a kind of transparent red, you can do that as well. And then you can also set various layer options. So what happens when your device is locked, not locked, what's available in landscape versus portrait, location options, overall padding options as well, global shortcuts as well. So if you want overall settings to be set, you can do that as well. So for example, fonts, on off switches and things like that. And then also app shortcuts, wallpaper shortcuts. If you want other shortcuts for global just touching options, you can do that as well. So at the moment I have no shortcuts set up, but I'll jump into one of the options that allows you to do that as well. So as you can see, I already have various options. So for example, you get a progress bar, so you can set it what it does. So if you want to create your own battery meter like I have here, you can do that, set it at battery. You can do flat progress, split progress, which sets it up as dots, repeat shape, so you get dots there. You also get a rotation, so if you want it to be offset a little bit, you can do that. And then you have various clock options as well. You can also set up the style, so if you want it linear versus circular, that's also an option. And then set up your height and size, so if you want a thicker bar, you can do that. And then if you want it to be a bigger or smaller circle, you can see that. And then you have the live preview as well, so you can if it's overlapping other areas or other layers you have, then you'll see that right away. You can set up a color, so whether it's a solid color, gradient, multiple colors, things like that. And then also you have your anchors, so where you want the position formatting to be adjusted from. So if you want to offset from center, top left, bottom, things like that. The coolest feature though is the animation function. So you can also, when different events happen on your phone, you can have different other options happen as well. So for example, when you let's say you have a long list of layers and it overshoots the length of your screen, you can have a scroll option set. You can have it set based on your gyroscope, visibility, unlock, loop, things like that. So I can't actually show the unloop. Actually, I can show you the unlock option. So I have it set to when my device unlocks, then in this case it's fade out, but it's fading. I guess it's kind of fading in. It's actually as fading out in that you're going to see it on the screen, and then fading in will fade it out when you unlock the device. And then how that fade handle, so I just have it set to normal, and then how long you want that fade to happen. So I have it set to 5. You can, or 5 seconds. You can increase it. So if you want it super slow or super fast, you can do that as well. So, and the beauty of it here is that you can hit the play button, so you can see it actually happen in real time. So if you want to see how it's gonna visibly look, you can do that as well. So as you can see, it faded out and then came back. If you do the fade in, you can hit the play and it fades. It actually shows the same thing, but testing it out as well will do that as well. And then if you want touch options, you can do that as well. So I'm not going to set anything here, but let's say on my... Oh, and then before I get into that, if you touch the box, let's say in this case I didn't rename anything, but I have them ordered in order of visibility for the most part. But let's say you want to make sure you're selecting the right thing to edit. You can touch the checkbox like that, and it'll show you exactly which item you're editing. So in this case, let's say I want to edit this particular forecast, and I want to change a touch option. So whenever I touch it, on a single touch, I can, if I wanted to do a custom action. So let's say every time I touch the main weather, if I wanted to force a weather update, open a notification, toggle Wi-Fi, or anything like that, I can do that. So in this case, I'll do force weather update, so I don't have to set a separate little icon for it, and I have a nice nifty way of getting the latest weather data. And so when that's done, what you can do is there's a little save button here at the top that you can hit save, and that will save all changes. If you made something and want to undo it but forgot what you did, then you can exit all the way out, and when you exit, it'll ask you if you want to discard changes. So I'll say in this case discard, and it'll not save it, and then when I go back in, it'll be as if I made no changes. In the overflow option, the app is available for free, but you're not allowed to import predefined custom live wallpapers. So when you go pro, you can either purchase in-app or install a separate app and buy that way. But going pro will allow you to install other people's community-based custom live wallpapers. So if you see a design online or in the Google Play Store that you like, then installing the pro version will allow you to use those other custom live wallpapers. Going into settings is pretty straightforward. You can set your clock mode, first day of the week, calendars to show, app language, preferred music player, what happens on tap. You can set your weather provider, so there's 4 options here. The weather measurement units, how often to refresh, and all of that, location accuracy. So pretty straightforward options there. You can set a light and dark UI, so by default it's set to light, but if you prefer the dark UI, then that is also an option. So one other feature that I don't have here, so most of these are just text and shape based layers, but you can also set you can basically also set a stackable group that allows you to arrange things horizontally or vertically. So if you want to organize various layers by group, then you can do that as well, so it's easier to manage your layers. And then touching the box and hitting the delete allows you to delete in bulk if you want to get rid of stuff. You can also set a series, so if you want a menu option on your home screen for, let's say, launching apps on your live wallpaper, then you can do that as well. So at the bottom, here's my new series. I'll set the position to top left, so it's out of the way a little bit. I'm gonna move it away from my other setup here a little bit, so it's easier to see. I think that should be good enough based on my bar, but let's set it to 150 just in case. You can have, and then there's also, you can have a circular or linear style here as well. So in the series, there's, actually that's actually totally not what I wanted. That's actually that's already something that I have. I was actually looking for a menu, so maybe it is actually in here and I totally missed it. But you can, if you want to set there it is. So if you want a custom layout, then you can do that here. So in this case, I set it to custom. So for the formula, I'm going to set it as a I'll basically just type in text, and I'll say, let's say, podcast, and so you can basically set up your formulas or not that, but music info. So you get a bunch of different customizable options here. So if you want data to be pulled from somewhere, or you create an overlay basically to make a touchable action, then some of the more advanced features will be say here. So if you want a certain text to refresh an RSS feed, or if you want a stock ticker and pull information from an RSS feed or HTTP site, then that can all be set here. So I'm still playing around with some of those advanced options, but if you've used SuperWidget, a lot of those options are available. And then, for example, I set the or I didn't save it, so I'll go back, I'll set it. So if I do, let's say, podcast, and when I set the touch option, so I'll do add and single touch, I can do launch app, and then I can go into my apps. It'll pull the app in for any app that's installed, and I'll select Pocket Cast. That's my podcast app. And when I go back, I want my series to, or I messed it up a little somehow, but basically you can set app shortcuts as well. So I can actually just go back. I'll delete that series. I'll go back, set up. I'll set up a text. I'm just checking, make sure there's nothing in here that I'm missing that I forgot about. But basically, if you go into text and your text options, you can set exactly what you need to set. So same thing. I'll go back here, podcast, touch, and go back and select your podcast app, or whatever app shortcut that you want to set. So and it also handles activities. So if there, your specific apps activities. So let's say Amazon Video. I don't know what a bunch of these mean. So if there's something in here you want to use as a calling an activity, or if you want to set up your own music controls, then you can do that. Let's say you want to have just text on your screen so you don't have to go into the app, then you can set that up as well. So live wallpaper or custom live wallpaper is actually a very in-depth way of setting up your own custom live wallpapers and having a number of options available to you as well. I didn't see as far as setting up custom icons if you want to use those, but there are base packs, so if you want to use the built-in weather icons, you can. There's also a custom icon that you can set, so if you wanted to say something specific, or you want to set up your own, let's say, Windows Phone style tiles, then that is also an option there. So if I want my so if you want a calendar icon like they have set up here, or if you want to go in and, let's say, have a special tile just for or tile set, or a more graphical tile setup for your cell phone signal. So let's say my cell signal level, I can do that, so I know that that's my cell signal level. So and foreground color, so if you want transparency is in there, so let's say I like that color but I want it a little bit lighter, then you'll see that it's set up a lot, or the configuration is actually very easy, but so it can be as simple or basic as you want. So as you can see, my setup is actually very, very straightforward. It's just weather and a battery bar. So it's if I'm driving and it's on my mount, I can easily see my battery level. I get quick access to the weather forecast and all of that. So if you have any other questions or anything like that, or you want me to look into something further or try a particular setup, or there's something from SuperWidget that you want me to try out and see if it's available here, then you can always email me at headphonesneil@yahoo.com. You can find me on Twitter at PatelN01. You can find all reviews on YouTube at youtube.com/PatelN01, where all prior reviews are available as well. And then, of course, you can find the podcast Life of an Accounting Droid at PatelN01 with all links, social media shortcuts, and all of that good stuff. But that is all for this particular review. Thanks for watching and listening, and until next time.